Well, I wanted to do just given that Nick's traveling and we can't do our show today, I said, and Evan was unavailable as well. And Walter was scheduled to do a live. He filled in his time. Hey, David. Um, so I thought we would do good morning, Patricia. No, I should say good afternoon. And so I thought I'd do a private Q&A with everybody. So the Q&A can revolve around anything that I have published on healthcare, the Surgeon General, viruses, the measles outbreak, pretty much anything, we can talk about. Um, we can talk about Lev's announcement last night to run for Florida District 27, which is Anna Maria Salazar's seat. We could talk about that, get everybody's opinion on that. I wanted to keep it short, about a half an hour today, just because of the renovation work in the office, and it's going to be it's in my back ear. I don't know if anybody can hear it, but plus I have a conference in West Palm later that I need to get up to this afternoon, so I got to keep it kind of short. But what I really wanted to start off with is, so let's talk about the Surgeon General. So Casey Means last week did her hearing with the Senate Health Committee, and it was hey, Stephanie. It was a mitigated disaster. She did a master class in how to avoid answering a question. When pressed directly by Senator Cassidy, who's the chair of the Senate Health Committee, she basically could not answer the straight up question about whether or not that the vaccinating newborn infants with hepatitis B was actually therapeutically preventable and making sure that they didn't get hepatitis. Because that's when you're most susceptible for hepatitis B, is when you're a newborn. So she couldn't even answer that question. And then when she was further pressed on the measles outbreak in West Texas, which we just broke really bad yesterday, that there's a full-blown outbreak in the El Paso facility. She couldn't even answer that question either. So this is the part where the Surgeon General of the United States really needs to be a board-certified practicing physician, either in an academic setting or in private practice or in some sort of multi-specialty clinic, Indian Health Service, whatever, not an Instagram influencer. And that was pretty much what my article that was published last week on Blue Ant Media was pretty much about, was about the fact that you can't influence your way out of public health policy. And as the Surgeon General of the United States, you just can't be, you are the top ranking official in the government for the National Health Corps, for the National Healthcare Public Policy Corps. Like, you're it. That's what the title general means. That's why she's got 4 stars if she had been confirmed. So as of right now, it looks like the votes, she's got 9 votes for, she has 11 votes against, and 3 are undecided. And those 3 are actually Senator Cassidy, Senator Murkowski, and Senator Collins. Hey, Beth. Hey, Steph. How are you guys doing? It's almost all of my favorite people, except for this guy, David Klein. I haven't seen him before. He might be a bot. I'm actually kidding, everybody. He's one of my neighbors. Hey, David. David's a really good guy. David's actually does security system lock systems for schools and commercial buildings, and has been doing it for a real long time. He's a good guy. So I mean, when you have 3 votes now, Senator Collins in the hearing was, I mean, we can all say this together, she had concerns, right? That's her whole thing. She always has concerns. And good morning, good afternoon, Mary. Welcome for joining. Thank you for joining. And so she always has concerns, and her questions were, in her usual way of not actually asking a real legit question to the nominee. So it was just a really bad, it was like 3.5 hours of just like me and Angie Rasmussen like pulling our hair out, because we were kind of doing it together and watching it together, and she was doing a live with one of her colleagues, and we were kind of like texting on Signal back and forth, and it was like insane, like the questions. It was just, typical Trump nominee division, divisive, evasive, dismissive. I can't think of any more adjectives here, but that's about what it came down to. Anyway, so that was the first thing I wanted to talk about. The second thing, I mean, there's so many things we could talk about, um, but this is the private Q&A for you guys. So if you guys have a question, you have a topic you want to discuss, we'll bring it to the floor. I will do my best to entertain you. I'm not going to do a song and dance. I am not built for that today. I am very tired. um, but and I'm sorry for everybody that's just joining in. If you hear a lot of noise in the background, I'm actually renovating my office. I'm having new cabinetry put in. So I had to upgrade my cabinetry in the office for storage and aesthetic purposes, and I needed to change the color. So went from a kind of like a brownish kind of 2000s like cherry brown to like a more like steel gray, a little bit more contemporary. Yeah. So the reason for today's live, obviously, is for those of you that follow Nick and Walter, Evan, and I on the Diogenes Club. Nick is traveling to Minneapolis today for an event, and that's a great question. I'll get to that in a second. So Nick had to travel up to Minneapolis today for an event that he was, I think he was doing with Dropkick Murphys or something this evening. So that's why he was flying up, and his flight got delayed. And Nick's in like the northwest part of Arkansas, Bentonville. So for him to fly out, he's got to go from Fort Smith to another hub and then fly up. So that's why we had to cancel our Diogenes meeting, which will be next Thursday at 12:30 p.m. All right. So best question, what are you doing now as a doctor, but as a human to stay centered? So I think this is a really important psychological question as well as a mental health question. And it's kind of both. But it's also physical too. So what I do to stay centered is I go back to the things that I was doing before Trump version 2 and all this other chaotic mess that we're in, was play a lot of pickleball. I make sure I work out. I eat healthy. I eat as healthy as I can. I make sure I do my hobbies that give me things that give me an escape, the things that like I can break away. This is not an escape. This is a tether. Okay. So when we talk about communication devices and cell phones, and as much as this is a texting device and I have games and stuff on here, it's still a tether. You're still electronically wired. So the things that I do are things that are not electronically tethering. So I do a lot of baking. You guys have seen my series that I've been doing on bread of the week. I just started doing that. So I pretty much will post the bread on Monday, put the recipe up on Tuesday. So just kind of letting you guys in on that. And then, so I obviously play a lot of pickleball, which is very interesting. I want to show you guys this because I just got these in the other day. So I have two of these. So I'm actually a sponsored player by with Volair, and Volair is actually one of the pickleball manufacturers. So they actually did and Margaret, I'll get to that one too, and David, I'll get to your question. So let me show you this one. So they did a partnership with the owner of Volair Pickleball, Ryan Cohen, is actually really good friends with the Schultz family, and Charles Schultz was the creator of Peanuts. So what he wound up doing was he wound up creating a 75th anniversary edition pickleball paddle. And because I am a sponsored player with them and I'm a good friend of Ryan, and so he basically sent me the new paddles with the new designs on them. How cool is that, guys, right? I mean, you could still play with these paddles if you wanted to. They're still playable paddles. So this is on one side. This is the elongated version. And then the back of this has the 75-year anniversary design with Charlie Brown and Snoopy and the kite and then Woodstock. You know. And of course, there's my favorite with Lucy pulling the football away from Charlie Brown. Kind of like what the Republicans did in Texas the other day. Pulled the football away. So there's that one. And then the other one is in a blocker box like this. So these are not ever going to get played. I'm going to mount these in the office as collector's items. And then the other one looks like this. So this is more like a wide body, what they call a wide body design so it's all the characters, Lucy, Linus, um, Peppermint Patty, Marcy, right? And then the backside is again Charlie Brown losing the kite with Woodstock and Snoopy. So these are the designs. Anyway, so there's just like a little thing. So that was part of my pickleball thing is how I stay centered, Margaret, is I do the things as an entrepreneur. Well, so here's the thing. So when you're an entrepreneur, you're always busy. You're always focused on the business. It's always business, right? There's always something that's going on that you have to deal with. After 25 years of being a solo practitioner and doing the things that I do, I've learned how to basically basically learning how to turn the key off the switch and how to off switch so that I can focus on family. I can focus on being with my wife and my family and doing the things that I want to do because you can't be on all the time. It's how you burn out. I was listening to Joe Walsh this morning, and he had Allison Camerota on, and she flat out asked him, said, like, where's your balance? And he's like, I get up in the morning at 8 o'clock in the morning. I get my musket out. I walk out the front door and I fight the fight, and I'm exhausted at night. He does this for like 10 to 12 hours. That's burnout. That is when you are fully burned out of what you're doing, and that's how you burn out. So I really don't want to ever get to that point, and that's why I do so many different things between pickleball and clinical research and speaking. Like I'll be at a conference this weekend in West Palm Beach. Speaking, I'm going to be talking about AI integration and ambient AI for medical clinics and medical visits, and how to use that and balance that against Medicare fraud and Medicare recoupment audits that they do. So, so that's kind of that, and it's really just about you need to find your focus and the things that you do away from the computer and away from the phone to have your balance. For some of you, it might be just family. It might be just sitting outside as soon as it gets warmer out. I know Stephanie's up in Boston, so she's still freezing, and but like, which I will be there next weekend, and I'm sure I'll be cold as well next weekend, but. So there's that. And then you could do things like if you cook, if you read, picking up a really good book, which I started doing again, really makes a difference too, because you can just envelop yourself in a book. So that's how I get around it, Margaret. That's how I kind of figure out my way about being an entrepreneur and getting away from it. So David put in the chart. So his new Wegovy is $925 the first month, $2,200 for the second month. And while I'm okay. So here's the thing. So David, the reason is because if you're a Medicare beneficiary, you fall into what's called the donut hole. So your out of pocket is $2,100. And then basically from $2,100 to like, I think it's $5,900, everything's covered. And then, so you're responsible for the first $2,100. And then you have a co-insurance up to the $5,900, I think 20%. And then anything after 59 would be covered at 100%. So you're in that donut hole period where you have to spend money as a Medicare beneficiary in your drug plan. And all the drug plans suck. They just do. If you're a Medicare beneficiary and you're in a drug plan, they just all suck. It's just the way it is. It's how they're pharmaceutical companies, insurance companies, they are like banks, and they're going to get their money one way or another. It's just the way it is. And, so the donut hole for 2026, just so I can get the right information out to everybody, because I don't like to. So they eliminated what they did the coverage gap, but they still, what they're calling the donut hole this year is that all out of pocket prescription drugs are capped at $2,100, so that all Medicare beneficiaries will not pay for covered drunks. Drunks. You're not going to pay for the drunks either, everybody. But the covered drug costs, once you hit $2,100, you're capped. So it will provide lower costs for seniors. So there's no more donut hole, but that first 2,100, you know, you can either pay for it all at once, or you can go into a monthly installment plan if you have a plan that allows for monthly payments up to that 2,100. And then insulin and vaccines are free, and insulin's capped at 35 for a month supply if you are a diabetic. So that's pretty much kind of how that works for this year. And that was part of the bill that Biden signed in 24. So That's how that works. And like for everybody that kind of came in late, Cheryl, Scott, who else came in late? Karen, Lil B. Hey, Lil B. I didn't see you come in. Um, like this is a Q&A. So you guys can just fire questions at me. This is like a freebie one-on-one with Dr. Lullove. So fire away, everybody. And if there's any other topics you'd like to discuss, I am not going to be discussing the Iran war. I will not discuss that. There's enough people talking about that online. I do not need to go there. The only thing I did want to talk about was if anybody noticed the rash on Trump's neck. So, two interesting things that came out of that photo was I posted a few days ago about the rash, and I thought it was more eczema. And one of the dermatologists on ET Tonight said that it could be similar to a reaction to a topical chemo drug for treatment of topical skin cancers like actinic keratosis or a squamous cell or basal cell carcinoma. And that treatment would be 5-fluorouracil. I see a lot of that stuff. I don't ever see a patient reaction that bad. Um, so I'm thinking it's more eczema and it's related to something else that he's taking, that he's getting a neck reaction. Um, he still is putting makeup on his hands. He's still hiding the IV sites he's getting, probably for the IV therapy that they're treating for his Parkinson's, or his dementia, actually, not Parkinson's, the early onset dementia. Um, and that drug is actually called, so the one that he might be taking is actually, it's called Leqembi. So it's an FDA approved IV infusion therapy that slows the progression of early Alzheimer's, and it removes those amyloid plaques that you get in the brain. Um, it's designed for patients who have mild cognitive impairment or mild dementia, and the treatment's administered twice a week, and then that's the reason why he's getting multiple MRIs because they have to monitor for brain swelling or what we call brain edema or cerebral edema and or bleeding. So that's what I'm thinking he might be getting. You might have heard another drug that you've seen on TV. It's called Consula. Um, so that's another drug that was also FDA approved for removal of amyloid plaques. But it's really for early stage Alzheimer's. Patients have to have regular MRIs for monitoring brain changes and edema, and it's not a cure. And it can it prevents the slow decline. So that's that. Or he's just that fucking evil and he's just rotting out, right? Which I would agree with Beth on this one. Like, I think that's the way I would go. Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining. Julianne, Tarlex, Judy, Paul, Ziggy. How are you? So we're doing like a little Q&A today. I have about 10 minutes left before I have to skedaddle, but I just wanted to kind of keep an open Q&A today. Just things that we're talking about. And the other thing is, in the other picture, so when we were looking at his neck and you're seeing that rash, right? Did anybody actually look at his ear? Did anybody see the picture of his ear? So what I want to do here, so I'm going to share a photo for everybody. So what I want to do here is, so let me get a better photo here. Ugh, I hate it when just shit on the internet starts to slow down and I'm paying for really high speed too. So here's the interesting thing. So if we really take a look at his neck, okay, so you have this rash, right? What is going on here? Okay. It's a really bad resolution photo, but this will work. Okay. Okay, here we go, everybody. So if we're seeing this, okay, I shared the wrong screen. Hang here we go. Okay. So let me try to zoom in a little bit. I think I can. Okay. But if you notice the contour of his ear right here, literally does not look like there is anything gone from a shrapnel or a gunshot wound to the right ear. There's nothing there. Um, there just isn't. There's just no way that this contour here in any way, shape, or form looks damaged. Now, I will tell you that in this is anatomy 101. The ear itself, all of this here, this is all cartilage. We don't rebuild cartilage. We don't even make new cartilage. You can't remake cartilage once it's been formed. Like once you blow out your cartilage in a joint, like your ankle or your knee or shoulder, it's gone. We can re-drill to try to grow new cartilage, but it doesn't work that way. Most people have to have like some sort of like osteochondral transfer, basically like a graft from another joint or another location placed into that area that was fractured. But with the ear, this has to be some sort of plastic reconstruction because there is no way that you create this from a natural healing process. Or it was just fucking fake. So the lower ear crease, I think he's had his whole life, Beth. I think it's always been there. And he's never had a piercing. He's never and yeah, Julia, I know it's disgusting and he pretty much is a repulsive figure to look at and to listen to, but it's just one of these things where it just I happen to notice it because they were doing close-up photos of the rash. So, yeah. And, listen, I think that whole thing was faked 'cause I was a paramedic in Detroit. People get shot, you're bleeding a lot, even in the head, and I've seen ear wounds, those things bleed forever. Not only do they bleed forever, they bleed a lot. You don't just stand up and all of a sudden there's, like, streaks of blood on your shirt, and it doesn't make any forensic sense whatsoever. It's not even it doesn't the laws of physics do not apply here, and that's why that was made for a TV show, and if everybody remembers, he was losing in the polls when that happened in Butler, Pennsylvania, that day. He was down 5 to Biden. He was down 5% in the polls, and that was what, summertime, I believe it was? So, when you start looking at that's why and I agree with you, David, if he got shot, there's no way he's standing up. No way. Doesn't happen. So the whole thing was just fixed, set. That was a TV show. That was a made for TV moment. And only a sick apparently I apologize for the noise, guys. And again, only a sick bastard would fake a shooting for style points. Hey Cheech, how are you, buddy? Um, yeah. I mean, just kind of it's just really sad that we have a TV show president. This whole thing is a TV show. And and he's putting American lives at risk. He's putting our economy at risk. We are really, anybody go to the gas pumps lately? You've got what? 20% of the world's oil is not moving in the Gulf right now. And I said I wasn't going to talk about Iran. See what fucking happens? Thanks everybody. I had to go exactly where I didn't want to go today. No, but we're heading into an economic crisis. We're heading into, we're already 38 trillion plus in debt. God knows how much this is costing. All this stuff that we're doing. We're in Ecuador. We have military operations in Ecuador. We have military operations involving 11 countries in the Persian Gulf and the Middle East. We have military operations going on pretty much in the South China Sea. And I mean, Shane's actually a really good person that probably has more information on all of this than I do, Shane Urach. So I highly suggest everybody follow him for this stuff because Shane's always on top of this, much more so than I am. Um, and so I just kind of wanted to just see what you guys thought. And yeah, Cuba's on the radar. I mean, Arturo's really been discussing that a lot. Arturo Dominguez, he's another person you guys should be following. Um, there's a lot of really good people here with the civilian journalists that are really just phenomenal investigative reporters that really know their stuff, much more so than me. And I'm blessed to have a relationship with these people, and I'm blessed that I have a platform that I can do this. And I appreciate all 25 of you that are tuning in and listening, because you've taken time out of your day to hear what I have to say, which is humbling. So thank you. And yeah, we're starving the Cubans out, and it's sad. And we're 90 miles from Cuba down here. Hey Amanda, how are you? Um, and we're 90 miles from Cuba, and it's for those of you who don't know, Sharon's my wife. David, you and I are gonna have a conversation later. um, Maybe I'll just bring you on a live. How's that? Maybe I'll just invite you on. Everybody can see you for real. How's that? How's that? Did you like that? Um, yeah, let's do a straw poll. Would everybody like to see David online this morning? Would everybody like to see David? I can just invite him in, and we can see how he does that. What do you think, David? You ready for big time? And now we hear silence. If you're up for it, you ready? I'll do it too. Okay, here we go. Uh, I gotta find. Yeah, because there's about 18 million David Kleins, so I gotta make sure I pull the right one. Because there's only about 200 of you in here. We'll have to do it another day. I can't find this out right now. This is like annoying as hell. Okay. Hey, Kat, how are you? Anyway, so yeah, the Canadians have really been stepping up, and thank God to our neighbors to the north, who we love to death, who I love to death, who I grew up with them in Detroit. Known a lot of great comedians and a lot of comedians and Canadians. I, God, I gotta eat lunch. Um, so yeah, so we're just really, really appreciate everybody coming in. David, I'll get you on a live another day. We'll get that done. And I really appreciate everybody coming in. It's 1:00. I hate to keep everybody. I didn't want to keep anybody longer than necessary, but I really appreciate everybody coming on for the short amount of time that we're here. Yep, let's go blue. And as we're moving into the weekend, we're going to go into week 2 of more chaos from the government. And it's still primary season. Everybody just make sure you're voting. Make sure you have an opportunity to vote in your state, that you're registered, that you have all your stuff that matches, and all of your paperwork is in order that you need. Stay compliant with your state and local county guidelines for voting. Make sure you know which precinct you're going to, or if you have an open open primary where you can go to any part of your county to vote. Make sure that you're aware of those rules, so that we don't have another Texas situation, because that was just ridiculous. That was just horseshit what happened on Tuesday. That was a joke. And other than that, everybody just have a really wonderful day, and I will see everybody soon. Next Thursday, the Diogenes Club, 12:30, with me, Nick, Evan, and Walter. And I think I have a live scheduled next Tuesday. I believe I have to check my calendar. With a super secret guest that I'm still trying to get confirmation for. Obviously, you guys have found me. You're my subscriber, so you're here. Keep reading my stuff on Substack. I have another article I'm publishing on the real casualty of war from a healthcare perspective, which is the healthcare system and how we do as a society when we do have these military conflicts and what happens to patients and how it erodes the social contract. So that should be publishing later this week. And everybody have a great weekend. I will be a little Substack silent tomorrow through the weekend because of the conference I'm at, but I will be popping in and out. And everybody have a great rest of the day and stay true, stay positive, and stay blue. Everybody have a great day. Thanks.